Hey guys. Oh, tired. That parade took a lot out of me. A lot of yelling, a lot of screaming. I am emotionally drained from today. Very emotional day. Seeing everybody fighting back tears, smiles, enjoyment, every emotion you can imagine uh, with you guys. So I thank you all for coming out. I think I saw 17 out of 21. 17 of you I got to see today, which was awesome. Those of you that I missed, we're working at videos. Christian Dad did a great thing with a drone he's going to send me. So I'll send that out to you guys when I get the chance. 17 kids, though. Definitely overwhelming. Very special. Makes you wish we're back, you know, more than ever, you know. I know, Bob, we missed you. Believe me, I wanted to see you. I wanted to really see your face and your sister. It's okay. We'll catch you next time. Catch you hopefully sooner than later. Hopefully we'll be in school April 15th or whatnot. And then you guys won't be looking forward to seeing me so much. Jackie, how are you? I say hello to everybody. Hello to everybody. We don't have much to read today. Child is in the background. Yeah, my kids are doing some schoolwork. We talked about them. You think it's bad? I'll be being quarantined with Mr. Kavanaugh, a teacher all the time, and then a coach all the time. So they got a little bit of everything going on. I had a great time at the parade too. It was over 100 cars, which was really, really cool. And but again, the fact that we got so many of you guys out there was even better. Christian, that's a great point. Oh, great point. Work definitely is easier in school. It's easier to teach in school too. Let me tell you that. Not easy to work on a computer all the time. I'm not a computer guy, so it's not easy. We're not going to read a lot. Hope you're reading a lot on your own. I hope that's what you mean. I have about 10 pages to read today, which is going to finish chapter. You'll finish chapter. I bet that's Matty Johnson checking in. Can't read what he wrote, but I guarantee you that Matt Johnson just checked in. Let me see. Let me see where I am here. Did it? Was it Matt Johnson? Watching. It was Matty Johnson. I knew it would be. Hey guys. Hey Matty. What? And did I parade for us? Yeah. Listen. When we contacted the teachers, Rod, can you move Tessa out of the screen, sweetheart? And let's get your work done. We got work to do, so please.
Finish.
Okay, well then go to another area. When we contacted the teachers and the teacher aides and the principals, they were all so excited about it. So I was blown away by the amount. I didn't know the amount. I wasn't able to keep track, but it was amazing. It just shows how much you guys were loved. Yeah, I know Miss Mangello called the news. I heard the news was there. I know Mr. Nelson got interviewed. The perfect guy to interview. Positive guy to say how great Cherokee is. Really was really cool. Julie, I want to Julie Ferrioli. I want a picture of your dad holding the sign. The sign is cool, but your dad holding the sign was even cooler. We wanted a picture of that. I love the support that you guys gave. Loved all the signs. Saw every one of them. I'd love to have any pictures that you guys took. All great stuff. Really, really cool stuff. Yeah, the news was there, Dean. Channel 4, too, not just Channel 12. Channel 12 was there, but Channel 4 was there, which is like a highlight newsreel. We don't really ever get Channel 12. So that was really pretty cool. All right, so Oh, all right, I'm exhausted though. I'll tell you that. It never felt so much emotion in one day. Oh, you didn't think that you can get tired from being emotional, but I am. I'm spent. I didn't get to take a nap yet. Been doing some work over here. I'm looking forward to reading. Yeah, I saw the sign, Julia. Uh, but get one with Dad holding it. That was a great one. I love that. That was a great one. My wife was like, "Oh, that was so cool." When I told her we try to get Pops with the sign to show her because she thought that was really, really cool. All right, we ready to get started, guys? This way we'll read and we'll call night. I'm hoping you're okay with the math. And if you're having issues just with the decimal, we're going to work on it. They're going to have a very similar lesson tomorrow. So I'm going to look at your work tonight and we'll get through that. We're going to get going, though. It's already 10 after. I'm missing Adonis, though. I was hoping he'd catch on. Want to make sure no one's stuck out here. Okay. Is Preston in? I don't know if I saw Preston. Preston, you in? I don't see him. All right. We're light on numbers today. Sorry, Dean. No Adonis. Jack, you could do the math. You could just have it on the screen and just do it. I'll send it to you individually. I want you to practice your math. Don't give me you can't do it. Well, how many things are we printing, guys? Who printed all this? You got to see my printer right now. We're printing like 1,000 pages. Not good. All right, we're going to get started. Dean, refresh it is Christian's hint to you. All right, so the manhunt, they're in the pine thickets waiting for Thomas Jones to come and get them. And we're going to go from there. You don't need to print it, Jack. Have it on the screen and do it on loose leaf. We'll work on it another time. I'll talk to you privately. Don't worry about it for now. All right. Okay. Oh, George Azadat, we talked about. He went to dinner with his buddies, and then he's almost was bragging that he was a part of the Lincoln assassination. Two parts that are crazy about that. A, he didn't have the guts to do anything. He didn't do anything. And B, he brags about it like he did do it. Very strange to me. Very strange. All right, so. Oh, that's right. Samuel Mudd. That's where we left off. He was now feeling guilty that he's going to get in trouble. And he was looking for a way of how he can outsmart the government to make it look like he's innocent. That's his goal right now. He wants to make sure that the government thinks that he's not holding information from them. Jack, we will take care of it. I promise. Okay. Moving on. Mudd. Okay. Mudd solved his problem, so he thought, by sending his cousin, George, a loyal Unionist and therefore above suspicion by the federal authorities, to town to report Booth's visit to Mudd's farm. So what he did is he called his cousin, who's very loyal to Lincoln and the Union, and said, listen, I got some news. Can you tell the authorities for me? And if it comes from you, it might look better than if it comes from me. So that was his plan. I'm going to tell my cousin to go tell the authorities. He wanted to report Booth's visit to Mudd's farm. The vague secondhand report he would deliver would not likely cause the soldiers to leap into their saddles in pursuit of the two strangers. Through the afternoon and into the evening, Dr. Mudd awaited the arrival of the manhunters, but they did not come. In a stroke of good luck for Booth, for unknown reasons, Samuel Mudd's cousin George failed to ride into town to report the strangers to the cavalry. The delay gave Booth an additional lead over his pursuers. So Mudd told his cousin to go to town and tell him, listen, Booth and this guy Harold were there that night before. So now Mudd is expecting the cavalry to come to his house and ask questions. But for some reason, the cousin didn't go into town to tell them. He had other things to do, I guess. He was busy. Then reporting the president assassin was staying at somebody's house. So very strange indeed that message got delayed. Another break for John Wilkes Booth. Another break, because now it gives them a little more time, a little more effort, a little more of the cavalry not knowing where they had been. In Washington, the manhunt had progressed little. John Wilkes Booth had assassinated the president almost 48 hours before, but the manhunters had no solid leads. Yes, the police, detectives, and officers had found a number of leads on Booth's accomplices, but none led to Booth. I don't think so, Julia. I just think he forgot because his cousin is very loyal to the Union. So he should have went, and for some reason, he just didn't. He got advantage. It just seemed like luck seemed to be on Booth's side. He should have been caught 20 times. He should have never been able to cross the bridge. If we remember, Cobb let him through. He should have been captured on stage, but nobody knew what was going on. And then he should have been caught when that guy was chasing him, the big guy, and he was able to escape that guy. And then Samuel Mudd should have reported him, but he didn't. So everything is working in Booth's favor. I don't know why he's getting this luck, but he is. Julie, that's a very good point. I don't have that answer. I don't know how he forgot. So, hats, the Derringer pistol, abandoned knives, broken revolvers, jackets, one-eyed horses, bank books, mysterious letters, hotel registers, notes to vice presidents, trunks, rope, spurs, bridles, saddles, and eyewitness accounts will all find clues that made the assassin seem very vivid and near. These would make good evidence at any criminal trial as proof of identity and guilt. The evidence already collected by April 15th confirmed that it was Booth who had shot Lincoln and that it seemed to have several accomplices. The contents of Azardot's room at the Kirkwood, plus Booth's Sam letter, suggested that the vice president had also been marked for death. So now they're figuring out Azardot was supposed to kill Johnson. They found that out in a letter. The evidence pointed to Booth's guilt, but not to how he planned to make his escape. Booth could be anywhere. Many false sightings across the country made the pursuit more difficult. With each passing hour, Booth's trail grew a little colder. Soon he would disappear forever. Booth's skill at avoiding the manhunters increased the government's embarrassment over its failure to find him. On the night of April 16th, Stanton had no idea of John Wilkes Booth's location or destination. Yes, it was probably Booth who gave the name Booth to Sergeant Cobb at the bridge and fled into Maryland. But where did he go after that? On April 17th, Thomas Jones appeared to go about his business as usual. He did his chores and ate his usual breakfast. He grabbed some bread, butter, and ham, filled a flask with coffee, and stuffed everything into his pockets. He folded the newspapers and stashed them in his coat. He carried a basket of corn on his arm to throw off any Union troops he might encounter. If stopped and questioned, he could claim that he was on his way to feed his hogs, which ran free in the woods. A little before 10 a.m., Jones rode toward the pine thicket. Bobby, remember, we're talking about only the book. About 100 yards from Booth's camp, Jones dismounted, walked slowly, and whistled the secret signal. You guys remember what the secret signal was? As he came within an earshot of the assassins, Booth and Harold welcomed him, and the food he brought with open arms. Booth was especially eager to see the other treats Jones brought, the newspapers. At last, 3 long days after the assassination, he could read about his history, making, actions, and how they would be reported to the nation. He must have delighted in reading the details of the assassination, as reported in the papers, as though reading the reviews of a performance. Just like, he's going through a walk, Isabella. He just wanted to have things on him that would distract, like he's not going anywhere. Maybe he's going for a bite to eat himself. He's going to have a snack. Nothing crazy. Oh, Adonis. What is happening? Nothing really so far. The government has found nothing. Samuel Mudd told his cousin to tell the authorities that Booth was there the night before, but for some reason the cousin never went to town to tell the authorities. So nobody knows where Booth is except for Thomas Jones. Thomas Jones knows where they are. Now, remember, he wanted those newspapers, Booth. He wanted to see how the nation thought he did. Remember, this was like a great performance for him. Let me see something. Very important message I'm expecting. Let's see who it is. Cool. After 100, oh, geez. I just lost my train of thought. Okay, here we go. Booth's pleasure at reading about his success in killing Lincoln could not hide his worsening condition. His leg was in bad shape, and Booth was obviously in great pain. As Jones discussed the escape plan with Booth and Harold, he became distracted when he heard a familiar and terrifying sound in the distance, clanking metal hooves pounding the earth. Instantly, Jones recognized the sound. Cavalry sabers slapping the saddles of Union troops riding in their direction. It was too late for them to hoist Booth onto his saddle to attempt to escape. A fight was out of the question. Booth could not walk. Jones was unarmed, and Harold had never been in a battle before. So they're in the pine thicket. Remember, it's just the three of them. And they hear the horse hoofs on the ground. They hear the knives, they're called sabers, the swords, hitting the metal of the spurs. They're caught. Finally, they're caught. And they can't battle them. They're caught. There's nothing they could do. It was too late for them to try to hoist Booth onto his saddle to attempt to escape. With only 2 revolvers and 1 carbine, they couldn't hold off a patrol of Union cavalry for long. The 3 men hugged the ground and held their breath. The cavalry horses got within 200 yards. It was Booth's closest brush with capture since he galloped down the alley behind Ford's Theater. Once again, though, lucky for Booth, instead of turning into the thicket, the troops remained on the road, past the thicket, and rode until the sound of hoofbeats vanished in the distance. They're not caught. They were this close. Booth, Harold, Jones didn't make a sound. They drove right by him, not even knowing or thinking they would be in there. They're gone. Not caught. Sorry. Can you imagine how scared Booth must have been at that moment? Can you imagine the heart rate that would have happened? Oh my God, it's like a movie. I agree. I think it should be a movie. Jones locked eyes with Booth. You see, my friend, we must wait. Yes, Booth agreed. I leave it all with you. On the morning of the 17th, another man waited too. Troops still had not called on Dr. Mudd to pursue the tip because they still did not know about it. It wasn't until the next afternoon that George Mudd, the cousin, rode into Bryantown. He made a vague report to Lieutenant Dana, just about 2 suspicious strangers, did not name them, visited his cousin farm seeking medical attention. Then, in another unbelievable stroke of good luck for Booth and Harold, Dana ignored the news as old and unimportant. He thanked George Mudd and sent him on his way. He did not send troops to Mudd's farm to investigate. Distracted by other leads, many of them dead ends, Lieutenant Dana ignored the one tip that placed Lincoln's assassin within his reach. So Lieutenant Dana gets news that these visitors came the night of Lincoln's assassin. One needed medical attention. But Dana said, listen, that's 3 days ago. That's old news. We don't need that. We don't need to investigate that news anymore. So they sent nobody. They sent nobody to Mudd's farm to investigate the claim. It's like Booth should play the lottery right now. He should play the lottery. He's the luckiest man alive right now. Lincoln says, okay, when soldiers had not come by his farm by that evening, Dr. Mudd relaxed. Perhaps at this point, they would not come at all, and he was free of any danger. By the way, Lieutenant Dana that's the last name. It's a man, Ryan. Just so you know. Mind-boggling, Julia Madonna. Mind-boggling. I agree. Dr. Mudd relaxed. Perhaps at this point they would not come at all. With the assassins' trail in Maryland growing cold, the soldiers would soon leave and shift their action to other places far from Bryantown and his farm. Thomas Jones had experienced enough excitement for one day. He agreed to return to the thicket to feed Booth and Harold the next morning, but he refused to bring horse feed again. It was difficult to carry enough feed for the horses, and Jones feared a passing cavalry patrol would hear their horses, which were hungry, restless, and noisy. The horses had served them well, and Harold loved animals, but they all agreed that the horses must be disposed of. Nobody is a bigger animal lover than me. So I apologize to you guys that are going to be upset to hear this, but they had to kill the horses. The reason they had to kill the horses is they're going to make sounds. They're going to need food. They're going to need to be cared for. They could give away their location. So the only way to keep the horses quiet and to not need any food is to kill them. The horse's reward, sad, right? The horse's reward for faithful service was death. Harold led them to a quicksand pit about a mile away, shot them, and then sank their bodies. Sorry, guys. Moment of silence for the faithful horses. Harold returned to the thicket and sat on the ground beside Booth. Never during their escape were they more vulnerable and alone. If the Union cavalry found them now, they would not be able to make a run for it. Exhausted and injured, Booth could not hope to outrun a mounted pursuit. And if Thomas Jones abandoned them, how would they find a way to cross the river? Later, in the safety of the night, Booth and Harold rolled out their wooden blankets and spent another night on the ground. You can't fight the cavalry, bud. Oh, cool. Newsday did a piece on us, guys. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Newsday did the parade. Got some news about it there. Very cool. Okay. RIP horses. Guys, that's the end of the chapter. You want to read chapter 8? It's 5 pages. I'll wait for your response. I just want to see something here. Yeah. Guys, here's I just got this sent to me from Christian's dad. We're gonna read the chapter. Check. Can you see that? That's the Newsday ad. Loudmouth teacher. Pretty cool, huh? Tell Christian, tell Dad thanks for sending it to me. Okay. Pretty cool. All right. So here we go. Chapter 8. And Julia, I'm sure you said, yeah, well, I hear him from far away too. Okay. Chapter 8. In Washington, the occupants of Mary Surratt's boarding house I'm not now. I guess it's getting out there. I'm getting my phone is blowing up. People are all excited about it. Really pretty cool stuff. It just goes to show you Cherokee's a wonderful place and we're blessed by it. Okay, here we go. Back on. Let's get ourselves back on track. Here we go. In Washington, the occupants of Mary Surratt's boarding house prepared for bed too. This is pretty cool. This chapter is pretty cool, guys. Let's focus on the book now, guys, and we could chat about the news later. That evening, the authorities paid another visit to put pressure on Mary and her daughter, Anna. The manhunters were desperate. 3 days after the assassination, John Wilkes Booth was still on the run. Seward's attacker was a mystery man. Stanton did not even know the assailant's name. John Surratt was suspected in the Seward attack, but there was no proof. Major W.H. Smith went to Surratt's boarding house to arrest the residents and search the house. Smith and his men questioned Mary, Anna, and other residents, then summoned a carriage to transport the women to headquarters. Now you're saying, what are they guilty of? That everybody's under suspicion. And if you're under suspicion at this point in time, they could take you in. So they're going to arrest everybody at the boarding house. Everybody. Until you give us some information. That's how they were working it. And now watch this, guys. Remember our buddy who's sleeping in the tree? Lewis Powell? Remember, he knew one place. He knew one place in Washington. What was the place that he knew? Mary Surratt's boarding house. It's the only place in Washington he knew. He just didn't know how to find it. Took him a few days, 3 days, but he finds it in the middle of the night. Unlike Booth, he shows up when the police are there. They don't even know who he is. Nobody knows who he is. No one saw him. But he shows up at the boarding house. Let's see what happens to our buddy. Just then, a man walking down H Street wandered up the front steps of the house, knocked on the front door, and rang the bell. It was soldiers and not Mrs. Surratt who opened the door to him. He stood before them, a large, powerful-looking man, carrying a pickaxe. He was dressed in a gray coat, black pants, and a fine pair of boots. As soon as the man stepped inside and into the hall, a soldier shut the door behind him. The man immediately sensed that something was wrong. He said he was there to see Mrs. Surratt. The officer told him he was in the right place and began to question him. The officer wanted to know the man's occupation, why he was there so late at night, how old he was, and where he lived. Yes, Adonis, I apologize. I was saying buddy clowning around. The man claimed that he was there to find out what time he should start work digging a gutter for Miss Surratt in the morning. He said she had offered him the job when she had seen him working in the neighborhood. The soldier asked Mrs. Surratt to confirm the man's story. She stood 3 steps from Lewis Powell as the soldier asked, "Do you know this man? And did you hire him to come and dig a gutter for you?" Her eyes locked on the man's face in recognition. She did know him. He was Lewis Powell, Seward would-be assassin. Powell's remarkable face was unforgettable, and he had been to her home at least twice before. Mary Surratt knew Lewis Powell. Mary raised her right hand as if swearing an oath of God on the Bible. "Sir, I do not know this man, and I have never seen him, and did not hire him to dig a gutter for me." Why? Why is she lying? She knows she's seen him before. She knows him. He's been there. Why is she lying? Is she a traitor, Isabella? Yeah, technically she's a traitor to him, sure. She doesn't want to get in trouble. She doesn't even want to be anywhere near Lewis Powell. Because if she says she does know him, she's automatically done too. So she knows this. She's going to say, "I don't know. I don't ever saw him before in my life." Now, poor Lewis Powell is stuck in a lie in front of the government. Not a good time for him. Powell looked at Mary in silence. Lewis Powell had been caught in a lie. Now he was trapped in this house full of soldiers. In moments, they would surely try to seize and arrest him. Powell was armed only with a pickaxe, but his incredible strength could turn that tool into an incredible weapon. Could he take on the army? If Powell chose to fight, he could certainly do great harm to a few of the soldiers before being captured or before being shot in the confusion. Powell glared at the soldiers. He could swing the axe quicker than they could draw their pistols. It was his move. Then surprisingly, meekly, weakly, without protest, he surrendered without a fight. If Lewis Powell had not wandered into the government's hands this night, he might have escaped Washington and vanished from history. Instead, the government celebrated his capture as the first major breakthrough in the manhunt. Within hours, Seward's servant identified Powell as the knife-wielding madman. The soldiers arrested Powell. They also arrested Mary Surratt. They arrested her daughter, Louis Weichman, and the rest of the people staying at the house. They searched the house and found evidence, photographs of Confederate generals, one of Confederate President Jefferson Davis, some ammunition, and a photo of John Wilkes Booth hidden behind a picture frame. So they just got a warrant, searched the entire house, and they got all this stuff showing that they're Confederates. So they're thinking anyone living there is involved. So they're taking everybody in. Everybody's captured. The soldiers arrested. I buried that already. At headquarters, the interrogator, Colonel Wellis, wanted to know what had brought Mary's son and John Wilkes Booth together, about her son's relationship with the oldest possible conspirators, and what her connection was to the newly arrested Lewis Powell. Mary Surratt proved to be cool and collected under questioning. She revealed nothing to help the authorities to find Booth. She only admitted facts. She was sure her questioners knew from other sources, especially her connection to Booth. She lied when she claimed she met Powell for the first time that evening as he arrived at her house while the soldiers were there. She admitting to knowing George Azardot, something the government already knew. Wellis about Booth's April 14th visit to her, the binoculars, her carriage ride to Lawrenceville, not her instructions about the shooting irons. They questioned her over and over. Wellis refused to let Mary return home. He sent her to the old Capitol prison, where she would join the many other suspects and witnesses arrested after the president's murder. Though she did not suspect it that night, Mary Surratt would never see her boarding house again. Julia, a lot of people that were arrested that night were not guilty of anything. They were just staying there. That's correct. However, when a nation is on this kind of lockdown like it was, and they thought anybody involved who knew Mary Surratt could know John Wilkes Booth, they were going to arrest everybody. With the arrest of Samuel Arnold, Michael O'Laughlin, and Edmund Spangler, just three guys that knew Booth, that had nothing to do with the assassination, they were arrested also, three of these guys. And it turns out those three guys, Edmund Spangler, Sam Arnold, and Michael O'Laughlin, they were involved in the kidnapping plan, just not the murder plan. So they were involved. Closed at the most successful day in a 3-day-old manhunt. Arnold, a 31-year-old Confederate Army veteran and former schoolmate of Booth's, was arrested based on a tip. He confessed that he participated in Booth's earlier scheme to kidnap the president, but he denied involvement in or knowledge of the assassination plot. Michael O'Laughlin, a 28-year-old childhood friend of Booth's, another former Confederate soldier, and participated in the kidnapping plot, was also arrested on the 17th. Edmund Spangler, the 39-year-old stagehand from Ford's Theater, was also arrested. His crime was briefly holding the reins of Booth's horse. So was Johnny Peanuts was arrested. Poor John. Remember Edmund Spangler? He was first holding the horses for John Wilkes Booth, and he had something to do, so he gave the horse reins to Johnny Peanuts. When they found that out, both of those guys get arrested. Both of those guys got arrested. Poor Spangler and Johnny Peanuts had nothing to do with the assassination of the earlier kidnapping plot. His long association with Booth, holding the mayor's reins, and the claim by another theater employee that they did not tell pursuers which way Booth went down the alley, earned them a cell in the old Capitol prison for the remainder of the manhunt. They're not in jail for long. It turns out that they figure out, but they were in jail for at least 10 days for doing nothing, for holding horse reins. Many other people in the theater were rounded up, including the Fords, the people who own the theater. The government thinks they might be involved. Stanton suspected of participation in the plot by other theater employees. How else could Booth have escaped so smoothly and easily? The theater itself was arrested. The theater itself, the building, was arrested. It was ordered to be closed down and was eventually confiscated from the Fords. So the people who owned the theater, they lost it. They owned it. The government said, now we're shutting it down, and now we're taking over. Crazy. I know. This is where things went. Crazy. They just took it over. The manhunters eventually rounded up more than 100 suspects. There's 4 people involved that we know of, right? The government rounded up 100 suspects and a building. The arrest filled the headlines, but Booth, the most famous and recognizable man in America, remained free. Edwin Stanton needed help. He would be unable to continue to devote all of his time and brainpower to the manhunt. He had a war to finish. Just because Lee had surrendered his army did not mean the war was totally over for Stanton. Other Confederate armies remained in the field in some southern states. Some generals had not yet surrendered. Confederate President Jefferson Davis was on the run, the subject of his own massive manhunt. Stanton had other things going on in the War Department and the Union Army to run and the reconstruction of the South to plan. He had to investigate the assassination, capture the conspirators, and organize a military tribunal to try them. That means just a court. Once he catches them, he needs to set up the justice system to have a courtroom. It was more than one mind even Stanton's could manage. He had to delegate authority to a small circle of trusted manhunters, including Lieutenant Lafayette Baker, newly arrived from New York. At the close of day 4, nobody knew where Booth was. Booth was a free man. And we stopped there. And that's it for today. Pretty cool. Lots of cool things. The good news is, everybody, we're not going to get to Friday. We'll be done with the book. Friday, you'll have all your answers. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you're enjoying it. Adonis, I love it. Let me tell you something, guys. If you are at all connected in something as big as an assassination of the President of the United States, if your name even gets whispered, you were arrested. It's that simple. They were turning over every rock, is what they would say. Any single solitary person they thought knew something was put in jail, including a building. We're going to set up a talking hour tomorrow, Julia. Today, I'm going to just chill out. Like I said, today was an emotional day for me. I'm drained. I'm beat. I just need to relax a little bit. So if you guys have any questions, obviously, you can always send me a message and we'll go from there. But as for today, we are done. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. All right, guys, I'm going to put a YouTube message on in the morning that you could watch for the instructions for the day. Okay? I'll talk to you guys later. Love you guys.